Friends, here we are talking about working with Ansible using user ID and password. See, first of all, forget about your Ansible. You just assume that you joined into an organization for a project. Then you will be assigned with some user ID. Let's say that user ID is ABC123. Then after that, you must raise access for your project servers. So just assume that you raised a request to get the access for your project servers. Then access team provides the access for the servers for your user ID. See, here we don't have access team. For our practice, what we do is we create our user ID ABC123 on all your servers with some password. Now let me show you that. See, just assume that you are having 3 servers in your project. Forget about Ansible. You are having 3 servers in your project. Then access team will create user ID for you on all your servers. So now we are doing that. Let's say ABC123 is the user I want to create on all servers. Let me do that first. We have done. Then next thing, we have to set up a password. So password ABC123. So I am giving some password. You just remember that same password you have to provide across all servers. So on second server, I am providing password for your user ID ABC123. And also on your third server. That's it. So after that, you have to enable password authentication as yes in your SSHD configuration file. Now let me do that. On first server, SSHD config, search for password authentication. See here, password authentication is there, but that value is no. Now let me modify that as yes. That's it. Now you updated password authentication as yes. Now save it. Same way, modify on your second server as well. At C, SSH, SSHD config, search for password authentication. See here, password authentication yes is there, but that line is commented. So that means somewhere password authentication no is mentioned. Just search one more time. See here we have password authentication as no. So in this line you just modify that value as yes. Save it. Then let me go to your third server at C, SSH, SSHD config. Here also search for password authentication. Yes, it is there, but that value is no. Now let me modify that as yes. Save it. See, once you modify the SSHD config file, then you have to restart your SSHD service. So I am using systemctl restart SSHD. You just run this command on all your 3 servers. That's it. See, as of now, whatever we did, these all things will be done by the access team in your real time. So now we are ready with our user ID and password for your project servers. Now assume that someone is using Ansible for your project. Then definitely Ansible has been installed somewhere. Now assume that you know that where it is installed. And you wanted to use Ansible at least for basic operations like to distribute files to all your servers, to find the Java version on all your servers, to know some process is running or not. So for all these simple kind of tasks, you no need to use root privileges, or you no need to run your Ansible ad-hoc commands or playbooks with your ansadmin user. Simply you can use your user ID and password. Now let me show you how we can do that. Then simply open your putty. Then provide here that server name, I mean where Ansible has been installed. Then log into it. So here you just provide your user ID and password for it. Now after that you just simply run ansible space -- version command. So by this you can confirm that Ansible has been installed on this server. Now you can work with your project servers from this server using Ansible. So for that, best practice is always create your required directory somewhere. So anyway, this is already your user home. If you want to create on this user home itself, yes, you can do it. Let's say I am creating my directory as, let's say, my project. Any name you can take. Then go to that. And then here, the first thing what you have to do is you have to create your inventory file. Nothing but your list of servers, your project list of servers, FQDNs or IPs. You can provide anything. Then save it. Then after that, you have to create Ansible config file. So here you have to write defaults, and then under this you have to write your inventory file path. So anyway, our inventory is there in the current location with inventory file name only. Then if you remember, we will keep host key checking as false. That's it. Now save it. So after that, simply run ansible space -- version. See, now your Ansible is taking config file from your current location. So if you read your config file from the current location, this is your inventory. So in this inventory, we have your required project servers. So after that, you just run the very basic module called ping. So on all my servers, project servers, simply I am running ansible.builtin.ping and see the result. Now see the result. Actually, your task has been failed. What is the reason? See, you don't have passwordless authentication with your servers. You have to work with your user ID and password. That's why while executing this Ansible ad-hoc command, you have to mention your user ID and your password. Anyway, by default, this Ansible ad-hoc command will take the current logged in user as the user ID. Then what is the password for it? That password you have to provide. So that password we can provide by passing -k option to your Ansible ad-hoc commands. So now it will prompt for the password of your user ID. So that is, let me provide the password which I have given for my ABC123 user. Now see the result. That's it. Now you can execute any Ansible ad-hoc command which is not required root privileges, because as of now for your ABC123 user we don't have any root privileges. See, irrespective of your current logged in user, if you want to mention any user while executing your Ansible ad-hoc command, then simply use -u, then your required user to connect with your remote servers. In this way, -u, then your user ID. It may be same as this logged in user, or if you know any other user for your remote servers, that user ID you have to provide here. And for this user ID, you have to provide password. Now it is prompting the password for this user ID. Now let me provide that. That's it. See, not only ping module, let's say I want to execute a command like java-version command on all my managed nodes. So now it is asking password. You just provide that password for your user ID and see the result. That's it. And one more thing. See here, as of now, you are passing your required username and password while executing your Ansible Ad-hoc commands. So instead of that, we can provide default username and password for your Ansible Ad-hoc commands. So for that, simply in your inventory, you have to mention like this. Let me show you that. Just write all, then where's. So what is this? We'll discuss. Then Ansible_user means what is the user you want to use to connect with your servers. Let's say in our case ABC123. And then what is the password for it? That is SSH password. So I have taken password also same as user ID. Now see, simply if you run your ping module without providing username and also without giving -k option to prompt the password, see that? Be clear. As of now, with your user ID, you don't have passwordless authentication. Means you did not exchange your keys. Simply you are connecting with your servers using your user ID and password. So that user ID and password, instead of passing from command line, what we can do is in your inventory itself, you can mention that like this. See, suppose if you want to find the uptime of all your servers, do we need root privileges? No. Do we need ansadmin user? No. With your user ID only, using your credentials, you can get the uptime of all your servers. So such kind of things you can easily perform using your username and password. Okay, thank you.